SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Toyota Brookhaven services all makes and models. That could be why we were voted best service department the past 2 years. Come see why. Exit 40 Brookhaven or online at ToyotaBrookhaven.com. Great service, great savings. At Toyota Brookhaven, we deliver.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Yeah. Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
What's up? Good morning. Here we go. It's the Wednesday morning edition of Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. You're up early this morning. Thanks for starting your day with us. Running around trying to get yourself ready to get out the door. Got kids, you got to get ready to get them out the door to try and get them there on time. And did they study? And are they ready for that test that they've got? Got to finish the semester strong. Got the lunchbox. Get your water bottle, too. All the things. Can you relate? All the things to get out the door in the morning. We appreciate you spending part of your day with us and love to hear from you. You get a second to shoot us a message, please do so on the C Spire text line. 601-879-4395. That's the number. 601-879-4395. Give us a message. That's the best way to communicate with us. C Spire, so much that's happening. Let's see here. So much that's happening all over the place, and that's your best way to connect. And so much that's happening at C Spire as well, including great deals on the newest wireless technology. That means the iPhone 17 Pro. That means the newest Samsung Galaxy device with great deals for the holidays. Check them out, cspire.com. Lance, good morning.
Good morning, Richard. How's it going today?
Yeah,
it's a hump day.
Yeah.
We're getting on to the end of these weeks just fly by. Goodness.
Yeah.
Get to Wednesday and it's over.
You know, about 95% of the mornings, when I wake up, it is dark. Like dark, dark, dark. Jane's asleep. Dogs aren't moving yet. And it's kind of like stumble out of bed and try to be quiet and don't want to wake anybody up. This morning when my alarm went off, I kind of opened up my eyes and it's like, the lights are on. I'm like, what's going on? It was one of those days where Jane had already gotten up. She's like, I woke up and decided I'd get to work. I was like, well, okay. It's a different deal, though, when you go from, like, tiptoeing around, try not to wake anybody up, house is super quiet, to, like, somebody's just talking to you, regular voice. It's a completely different deal. So, but she did make coffee this morning, so I didn't have to do that. That is a win. Yeah, it's a win to start the day.
That's a trophy.
Yes, sir. It's going to be nice today. Had a little buddies group text message talking about a tea time today, which is not a terrible idea. I don't think I'm going to be able to participate, but Tupelo, you got partly cloudy skies with a high around 60. It'll be breezy, though. Winds out of the west at 10 to 20 miles an hour. 62 today in Greenwood with partly cloudy skies. Flora, right outside the Jackson area. I guess part of the Jackson metro area. Partly cloudy and 62 for you. How about 66 today in Gulfport? Be careful this morning. You got some areas of patchy fog, then mostly sunny throughout the day. 10 to 15 miles an hour on the wind out of the west-southwest. Lance, have you peeked at the forecast?
Today's? It looks amazing.
Well, yeah, no.
I mean, the extended.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it looks nice. I mean, you're going to hit 70 here in central Mississippi somewhere. It looks like tomorrow or Thursday or Friday. Friday, it looks like the high is like around 70.
And
then Saturday, but you got some cloudiness. What are you looking at?
Here's what I was looking at in North Mississippi. Today, 60. Tomorrow, 52. Friday, mid-60s. Saturday, low 50s. Sunday, high of 32, low of 17.
Yeah. That's Sunday.
I mean, we're just clipping along, 50s and 60s, and then the high is 32.
That's wild.
Long range, by the way, if you're looking at the playoff forecast for Ole Miss, December 20th, long range forecast has you with a high of 61 degrees and partly cloudy. Bobby Flay was born on this day in 1964, the American celebrity chef, restaurateur, and TV personality. He was the original Iron Chef America guy. Bobby Flay's barbecue addiction, born in New York City. Of the celebrity chefs, where is Bobby Flay on your list?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know many chefs, but he'd have to be up there in the top 4 or 5, right?
You're not a Food Network guy?
No.
You watch some of the cooking shows?
I mean, I know who some of them are.
Yeah.
You know, Julia Childs and Bobby Flay and a few of the others. But, yeah, I don't know.
Guy
Fieri and that crew. I was a big Bourdain fan. You know, I loved the work that he did in the food world.
He's a bit of a wanderer.
Yeah, just wandered around and got some unique things and tasted everything. Yeah. But there's some interesting folks out there. I see why people truly enjoy like Food Network, and I'm just not I cook for me, you know, so
that's right.
It's not a whole lot of prep.
I bet you don't know who this guy is. Sultan Khoisan was born on this day in 1982, so he is 43 years old today. He is a Turkish farmer, and oh, by the way, the world's tallest man. Khoisan holds the record for being the tallest living man in the world at 251 centimeters, which translated is 8 feet, 2.82 inches. He is almost 8'3". Khoisan's height is caused by a tumor affecting his pituitary gland, which led to the conditions gigantism and acromegaly. I don't know if I said that right or not. He was unable to finish school due to his height, worked as a part-time farmer instead. His height makes it difficult for him to find clothes, shoes, and even a car that fits him properly. Back in 2010, Khoisan began receiving treatment for his pituitary tumor at the University of Virginia Medical School. The treatment was successful in stopping his growth. He got married in 2013, divorced in 2021 due to communication problems, not like height-wise. No, he spoke Turkish and his wife only spoke Arabic. I'm assuming they didn't go to any premarital counseling because it seems as if that's an issue that would have come up then. I don't know. Khoisan met the world's shortest man at an event in London in 2014. The difference in their heights was 6.5 feet. He joined the Magic Circus of Samoa in 2014 and performed in shows around the world. In addition to his record for being the tallest living man, he also holds the record for the largest hands, measuring 11 inches. The second largest feet, his left foot measuring 14.4 inches, his right foot 14 inches. There's a joke in there somewhere, but I won't go there. So, happy birthday, Mr. Khoisan. NFL quarterback Joe Burrow, former LSU Tiger, Heisman Trophy winner, national championship game MVP, is 29 years old today. Man, he was good. Authored the best offensive season in college football history.
Best I've ever seen, yeah.
Man, he was good.
That was something.
And he had dudes. Boy, did he have weapons all over the place.
And did it with who was the coach then? Who was the head coach at LSU?
Ed Orgeron.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going.
Oh, yeah.
The best team in the history of college football was led by Ed Orgeron.
Yes,
it's hard to believe, but it happened.
On this day in 1520, big deal, Martin Luther publicly burned Pope Leo X's papal bull Exsurge Domine, which demanded that Luther recant his writings. What writings are we discussing? Well, 3 years earlier, in 1517, an obscure German theologian by the name of Martin Luther published a document criticizing the Catholic selling of indulgences, or actions performed to reduce the amount of punishment for sin. Luther could not have known that his document and the subsequent events would change the face of Europe and Christendom forever. Over the next 150 years, Europe split between the Catholic faith of the Roman popes and the new Reformed religion known as Protestantism, of which there were many branches. Northern Europe switched to Protestant, Southern Europe remained Catholic, Central Europe became the site of the devastating 30 Years' War. And this day in 1520, when Martin Luther said no and burned the writings of the Pope, which were instructing him to say, hey, you change what you're writing, day that changed the history of Christianity and Catholicism. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Venable Glass.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Back with you. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for spending part of the start of your day with us. One of the great stories of all time, released on this day in 1884. It was published first in the UK and in Canada. Printing error in the United States caused it to be delayed for a while. The story? The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. The great Mark Twain. I had a proud moment last night. I walked upstairs to make sure that Obi was kind of headed for bed, and he was sitting on the couch, and he was reading Tom Sawyer. Yes. Great.
Those are classics.
This is great. Today in 1906, President Theodore Roosevelt became the first American to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. As I was going through the things that happened on this day, apparently 10th of December is the traditional Nobel Prize Day because, I mean, there were a bunch of Nobel Prize winners that were given their honor on this day, including Rudyard Kipling, received the first Nobel Prize for Literature. He was the first English language writer to win a Nobel Prize for Literature. I don't mean for there to be an LSU theme this morning. This day in 1961, Houston Oilers utility back Billy Cannon gained a then AFL record 373 yards combined rushing and receiving in a win over the New York Titans at the Polo Grounds in New York City. Billy Cannon was really good.
Oh, yeah. Good old Philadelphia, Mississippi boy. Right? Isn't that where he's from? In his bio, I was reading it earlier.
Okay.
Philadelphia Miss.
I will.
Hey, you let him slip away? I don't know, but
probably a sack full of cash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was kidding. Right. LSU seems to have a bit. LSU has a little of that. And back then, 6'1" for a halfback. That's a big boy.
Man, he was great. Great. 1967, CBS officially renamed Studio 50 in New York, which had been built in 1927 as Hammerstein's Theater, as the Ed Sullivan Theater. The Ed Sullivan Theater in celebration of the 20th anniversary of the Ed Sullivan Show. Of course, that became the home of the David Letterman Show for all of those years as well.
Welcome to the show, folks.
Got to see David Letterman live one time in New York.
Oh, he was a dude. Ed Sullivan's kind of strange guy. That voice always going, hey, everybody. I loved Letterman. I loved it back in the old days when he'd throw the pencil.
That's right.
At the camera.
The top 10 list.
Yeah, the top 10.
And finally, on this day in 1978, Superman the movie, directed by Richard Donner, starring Christopher Reeve, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, and Margot Kidder, premiered at the Uptown Theater in Washington, D.C. That was in 1978, so 47 years ago.
I remember seeing it in the theater. I was 4.
Really?
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday, too. That was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that's stretching for 4-year-old Lance.
Well, I mean, back then, too, 78, and Superman comes out. It was just really unique. You know, I've always loved that movie. It's got a lot of nostalgia to it for me.
Yeah. A pair of Trump-appointed judges have been given the green light for confirmation. The Senate voted 51-46 yesterday to approve Robert Chamberlain, Bobby if you prefer, to serve on the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Mississippi. He currently is a member of the Mississippi Supreme Court. Won an open seat for the post back in 2016, ran unopposed again during the 2024 election cycle. Previously served as a circuit court judge for the 17th Circuit District and as a state senator representing DeSoto County. Also, Justice James Maxwell II, Jimmy Maxwell, has been approved. Like Chamberlain, he was appointed by Donald Trump. I was going to see if I could find it. I wonder if he was also 51-46. If we're doing this whole party line thing, like, hey, it doesn't matter, I'm voting against it because it's Trump's nominee. Cindy Hyde-Smith said, I am pleased with the confirmation of Justice James Maxwell to serve as a U.S. District Court judge, as he has done on the Mississippi Supreme Court and throughout his career as a jurist. He will continue to exemplify a dedication to careful, principled jurisprudence and to upholding the rule of law. I believe he will serve the Northern District of Mississippi and our nation with distinction. She also congratulated Jimmy Chamberlain. So, very good. I mean, it feels like it's been a while since those nominations were handed down and now confirmed. ZZ Top is coming to Mississippi. I guess in the same way that this is the day where we announce Nobel Prize winners through history. It's kind of the time of the year where you announce the new tour. After playing in Mississippi in March last year, the iconic band is set to take the main stage in the Batesville Civic Center. As part of its 2026 tour, the band will perform on Saturday, April 4th, 7:30 p.m., little Texas blues rock sound with them. Driving and Crying will serve as the opener. Just got to make sure you're a sharp-dressed man when you show up at the Batesville Civic Center. Tickets go on sale Friday. This Friday, so a couple of days. So we got ZZ Top coming to Batesville. We got Bob Dylan coming to Jackson. What was the other one we mentioned yesterday? You have to remember? I don't.
No.
Okay. We got Golden Globe nominations with a little bit of a focus on Mississippi. Delta-based Sinners is one of the leading blockbusters heading into the annual TV and Film Awards. The Jim Crow-era vampire flick was filmed in Louisiana, but it's set in Clarksdale. Ryan Coogler, up for Best Director, drew from his family's history to create the film's plot. He was born in Mississippi. Let's see. You've got Buddy Guy and Christone Kingfish Ingram that appeared in the ending credits as well. So Parker Posey, nominated for Best Performance by a Female Actor in a Supporting Role on Television. She played Victoria Ratliff in White Lotus. She moved from Louisiana to Mississippi when she was a teenager. Family settled in Laurel. Trammell Tillman, a Jackson State grad, and recently became the first black man to win an Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, looking to win another with his Golden Globe nomination for Best Performance by a Male Actor in a Supporting Role on Television. Seth Milchick in Severance. So, some Mississippi ties, perhaps with some trophies coming up soon. Pretty cool. Pete Hegseth is being pushed by congressional leaders to release the video of the boat strikes. Hegseth told congressional leaders yesterday that he was still weighing whether to release the full video of an attack on an alleged drug boat that killed 2 survivors, even as he faced intensifying demands from Congress for disclosure. Hegseth provided a classified briefing for congressional leaders alongside Secretary of State Marco Rubio and other top national security officials. Chuck Schumer said that when he asked the defense secretary whether he would allow every member of Congress to view the video of the attacks from September, Hegseth's response was, "We'll have to study it." Lawmakers are demanding a full accounting from the Department of Defense on the strikes that killed 2 people who were clinging to the wreckage of an initial strike. Legal experts say the action may have violated the laws governing the use of deadly military force. Situation has awakened the Republican-controlled Congress to its oversight role after months of frustration about the trickle of information from the Pentagon. Hanging in the balance, the annual defense authorization bill, crafted by Republicans and Democrats alike, demanding that the Pentagon turn over unedited video of the strikes as well as the orders authorizing the attacks. Legislation threatens to withhold a quarter of Hegseth's travel budget if he refuses to turn it over. Those are your news headlines on this Wednesday morning, middle of the week, 10th of December, 2025. We got more coming up with you. Your daily sports update is next. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
And a little too loud, but there's no place that I'd rather be than right here with my redneck, white socks and blue ribbon beer.
From the Sea
Morning, partner.
The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, preacher man talking on TV, cutting down my rock and roll. He wants me to send a donation. He said he's worried about my soul. Now Jesus walked on the water. Lord, you know I believe that's true. But sometimes I think Jimmy Swagger, and I'm gonna do a little walking too.
Hey, thanks for being with us. It is Wednesday morning, December 10th. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. The show is presented by Community Bank. Find them online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. It's time for your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Visit them online at pearlriverresort.com, your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Pearl River Resort. Speaking of Pearl River Resort, they will be presenting Sports Talk Mississippi's coverage of the first ever college football playoff game in the state of Mississippi. You can mark your calendar now. Thursday, December 18th, Friday, December 19th, Sports Talk Mississippi live from the Library Sports Bar on the Oxford Square for special coverage of the college football playoff presented by Pearl River Resort. That's on the way. Time for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Ole Miss and Mississippi State had a bunch of players that were named to the all-SEC teams, including first-team running back Kejuan Lacey, one of the nation's top rushers, 1,279 yards, 20 touchdowns on 258 carries. The 20 touchdowns shatters the previous single-season record at Ole Miss set by Quinshawn Judkins. Gave Lacey the all-purpose touchdown record as well. He is the team's first-ever finalist for the Doak Walker Award. Lucas Carnero also was a first-team All-SEC performer. Touchbacks on 73 of 74 kicks this year. I don't even know if I realized that. Also, 22 of 25 kicking field goals. His long was 54. He was a perfect 48 for 48 on extra point attempts. That's really good. Quarterback Trinidad Chambliss was named second-team All-SEC, which is phenomenal. Diego Pavia was named the first-team All-SEC quarterback. Diego Pavia also a Heisman finalist. One of the other Heisman finalists, though, is Fernando Mendoza at Indiana University, who does not have numbers as good as Austin Simmons. Daquan Wright was second-team All-SEC at tight end, led all tight ends nationally in yards per catch this season, averaging 16.3 yards per catch, also 4 touchdowns. Offensive lineman Diego Pounds, third-team All-SEC. Defensive tackle Will Eccles, third-team All-SEC, as was defensive end Princewell Ubonmi-Allen. For Mississippi State, Brennan Thompson was third-team All-SEC, 53 catches, 948 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He averaged almost 18 yards per catch and 79 yards per game. And third-team All-SEC, and honestly, this might be low. I'd say definitely second-team and maybe first-team All-SEC. Kelly Jones. Started just 4 games the last 2 years, but had a breakout season. Started all 12 at corner. Career highs in tackles, pass breakups, and interceptions. Had 2 of those. His 11 pass breakups, tied for the most in the SEC. 14th best nationally. And, by the way, the reason he didn't have more pass breakups and more interceptions is teams just stopped throwing at him. In the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss did not target Kelly Jones one time in the game. Of course, both Ole Miss and Mississippi State playing in the postseason. Ole Miss in the college football playoff. Their game at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon, December 20th. If they win, they will take on the Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl. Mississippi State back in a bowl game for the first time in 2 years. They finished the year 5-7, which is a game below where you qualify for bowl play, but there were not enough teams, or you had some teams that said no to bowl games, opening up some spots, and those spots were filled based on academic progress rating, of which Mississippi State was high enough that they got one. So, good to them. They are headed to the Duke's Mayo Bowl in Charlotte. Ole Miss has officially added a couple of names to its football staff. New offensive coordinator is John David Baker. He was co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach at Ole Miss a few years ago. Lane Kiffin brought him in from Southern California. And then John David Baker took on the offensive coordinator job at East Carolina. Pete Golding able to hire back John David Baker, and it kind of ends some of the rumors about whether or not Charlie Weiss would end up staying at Ole Miss despite going to LSU and signing a term sheet and all of those things. There was a lot of thought that that might be the case, but turns out no. And Kelvin Bolden also back. He spent the past season as LSU's Senior Associate Athletic Director and Assistant General Manager. Bolden left Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss staff after spending 3 years in Oxford. I mean, it's just like switcheroo. You got these Ole Miss guys going to Baton Rouge, and you got these LSU guys coming to Oxford, and feels like everybody could have just kind of stayed put, and it would have been fine. Ole Miss could have kept winning, LSU could have kept stinking, and you didn't have to do it. Anyway. What do we got? Phillip Rivers. You know, the guy that retired from football. He's got like 47 kids. Is already a grandfather. He was in the same NFL draft class as Eli Manning. So that was, April of 2004. He is adding another chapter to his NFL story. Longtime star quarterback who retired after the 2020 season, his 17th in the NFL, is rejoining the Indianapolis Colts on their practice squad amid an injury crisis that has left them with 3 sidelined quarterbacks. Worked out for the Colts on Monday night. News comes one day after his 44th birthday, so he is the oldest active player in the NFL. Positions him to be an option to play in place of third-string quarterback Riley Leonard, who got a knee injury while he was in for Daniel Jones in Sunday's loss to the Jaguars. He had a right Achilles tear, season-ending surgery this week. And then there's Anthony Richardson, who began the season as the number 2 quarterback, but he's on injured reserve and has been since October because of a facial fracture in an equipment failure involving stretching bands.
Ooh.
What?
Yeah, I never heard that. It must have recoiled and slapped him in the face.
And, like, broke his eye socket?
Something. I mean, you know, they have those wooden handles or hard plastic handles on those things, and if it snapped, may have come back and hit him in the teeth or face or something. But, hey, who was the actual oldest quarterback to ever play in the NFL?
George Blanda.
You got it, brother. My man.
Not that.
48, wasn't he?
So that'd be 3 more years for me. Not that I was ever like a finely tuned athlete, but, you know. How old are you now? You 50?
51. 51. Yeah. I'd love to be 48 again, yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely.
You think you could have still pitched in college baseball at 48?
Yeah, no. I mean, what level? I guess there's a lot of different levels.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I could probably spin one, throw the split, the change. The heat wouldn't be over 90, though. That's for sure.
Notre Dame athletic director Pete Bavacqua is aware of potential NFL interest in his head football coach, Marcus Freeman. He's going to push to keep Freeman in South Bend, 43-12 as the head coach at Notre Dame. And led his team to the national title game last year. Notre Dame missed out on the playoffs this year. Bavacqua said everybody has eyes on Marcus. College has his eyes on Marcus. NFL has eyes on Marcus. I bet Hollywood has eyes on Marcus. He's the absolute best coach in the country for Notre Dame, full stop, one of the greatest college coaches in the country. And Notre Dame says that they are willing to do whatever it takes to keep him on their staff. Notre Dame doesn't release salary information, but he earned more than $7.4 million in 2023, according to federal tax documents. Okay. Well, that's a long way from being the highest paid coach in college football. You don't think that Pete Bavacqua at Notre Dame was keeping an eye on what was happening in the Southeastern Conference with these escalating salaries and know that he was going to have to pony up as well? That's your morning sports update. Brought to you by Pearl River Resort, pearlriverresort.com. Today would be a good day to get out to Dancing Rabbit. Book a tee time right now, dancingrabbitgolf.com.
From the Venable Glass.
No matter where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, DeIberville, or any other ville in the SIP, you're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Jackpot winner on Lotto America yesterday. The estimated jackpot for tonight, now over $9 million with an estimated cash value of almost $4.2 million. Powerball tonight, 930. I mean, I guess you could use those numbers if you wanted to. 930, the numbers in terms of millions. 930 million for the jackpot. Estimated cash value, $429 million. No winner on Monday night, so it rolled forward and it grew again. It just keeps climbing with no jackpot winner on Monday. The estimated jackpot tonight, again, $930 million. Don't miss your chance at nearly $1 billion. Obviously before taxes and before you take the lump sum. Powerball tickets, just $2. You can add Power Play for an extra $1 to multiply non-jackpot winnings, or double play for a chance at a second drawing of numbers. Visit your favorite Mississippi Lottery retailer today and get your Powerball tickets for tonight's drawing. Play responsibly and have fun. We hope you will. An Indianola man won $20,000 on a $2 emerald green scratch-off that he got at Double Quick in Indianola. Players from Corinth, Lewin, and Columbus each won $5,000 on tickets from Sprint Mart in Corinth, Panola Grocery in Pinola. I didn't want you to think I was saying Pinola, and Sprint Mart in Columbus. That was on $20 full of 5,000s scratch-off. That is your update from the Mississippi Lottery. Find them online at mslottery.com. Did you hear about the story of the youth football team that was getting ready to play for a national championship? And they were at Dick's Sporting Goods in Florida. Youth football team from Philadelphia, the United Thoroughbreds. 8 teenagers on this football team, aged 14 and 15, had traveled to Polk County, Florida from Pennsylvania. And at Dick's Sporting Goods on Saturday morning, they stole $2,296.07 worth of merchandise from Dick's. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said the boys picked the wrong state and the wrong country. You may have seen video clips of Sheriff Grady Judd in Polk County. He said the 8 juveniles Ubered to the store. They allegedly stuffed 47 items into bags and in their pants before leaving. They did not get to play in the national championship game. Sheriff Judd said, I don't know if these were starters or not, but I can tell you that we were finishers. We arrested them. Judd called the team the Thoroughbred Thieves. Said they worked together in teams of 2 to steal the items, according to footage from Dick's Sporting Goods cameras. Due to being detained, they were unable to play in their championship game later in the day, and they lost to the Cocoa Tigers, or is it Cocoa or Cocoa? We'll go with Cocoa. 26-6. Facing charges of retail theft over $750 and conspiracy to commit retail theft, both felonies. They're going to have to go back to the Sunshine State from Pennsylvania to face the charges against them. They don't play in Polk County. Have you peeked at the bowl schedule? I know bowl games don't necessarily have the same amount of luster that they did not too terribly long ago, but a lot of teams playing. The first one up is the Cricket Celebration Bowl, a week from this Saturday. South Carolina State taking on Prairie View A&M in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. You also have the Bucked Up L.A. Bowl. That's Boise State and Washington at SoFi and 8 o'clock on ABC. So this Saturday, you have America's game, Lance. You like watching Army-Navy?
I do.
Oh, it's so good.
I had a cousin that was a colonel in the Marine Corps and taught at Annapolis, and it was always an amazing treat to get to go up there. Went a couple of times when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But, man, the game, that is
he's
something.
A big Go Navy Beat Army guy.
Oh, of course, yeah. He spent a career in the Marine Corps and a few tours in Nam and taught the freshmen at Annapolis, the plebes. He's a guy that's still at 80 right now, still shaves high and tight every day.
Every day.
But man,
Navy's 9-2 this year. They went 7-1 in the American Conference. Army had a 6-5 season. They went 4-4, fitting that both of those teams call the American home. This year, the game will be in Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium with a 2 o'clock Central Time kickoff on Saturday afternoon, December 13th. That is this Saturday. So postseason football gets started today. And then a week from today, postseason football will take center stage in Mississippi with Ole Miss hosting Tulane in a college football playoff first-round matchup. 7 o'clock hour is on the way. Start things off with some news about the hearing that's happening in Jackson. Yesterday started. Continuing today, Senate Universities and Colleges Committee is meeting with some interesting topics on the docket. Dr. Lance Evans will join us at 7:30 this morning. He's the superintendent at the Mississippi Department of Education. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
All right, now to the important stuff.
Your VIP pass to hear what the most influential Mississippians are talking about.
This is very important.
Huge news. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
For a while, maybe longer if I do.
Welcome to the 7 o'clock hour. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. As you're getting going this morning, we welcome you. We appreciate you spending part of the start of your day here with us on Super Talk, Mornings with Richard Cross. Love to hear from you. Best way to do that is on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Visit C Spire's website and see what they've got to offer for you in terms of home internet, including their best fiber deal of all time. It's only available for a limited time. The deals are stacking up. You can get gigabit fiber internet for just $50, free Wi-Fi routers, a free Ring doorbell, and up to a $200 gift card. Get in touch with C Spire for all of the details. Learn more online at cspire.com. C Spire, customer inspired. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We appreciate you joining us. There is a hearing that is happening in Jackson. Got started yesterday, continuing today. 2-day hearing of the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee. We have talked with Nicole Boyd, Senator Nicole Boyd from Lafayette County. She is chair of that committee, about a lot of the things that are happening in higher education in Mississippi. Today, the committee will receive updates from State Treasurer David McCray on the college savings program. We've talked with Treasurer McCray a bunch about the changes that have existed to that program. If you remember, I'm going to say it was 5 or 6 years ago, they did a full audit of the college savings program and found some things that were a little disconcerting in terms of funding for the program. They have made changes to it. They actually paused the program for a little while, went through an actuarial study to make sure that the money that was being charged to participants in the program was enough to continue to fund the program, made some adjustments to it, and that is in a really, really good place right now. If I remember correctly, David McCrae told us that it was over 90% funded at this point. So no concern about the solubility of that program going forward. So that's certainly good news. Nicole Boyd said, we're pleased to see the financial health of the college savings program and the opportunities that this gives people that invest in this program to know that it is a solid performing program. Committee members also are scheduled to hear from Jay Allen with the Education Achievement Council. There is a collaboration between the legislature, community college leaders, the IHL, and the K-12 space, in addition to workforce community developers to ensure that education is functionally benefiting the state's workforce. There's been a lot of conversation about that, especially at the community college level. We're seeing it trickle up into four-year colleges as well, some of that through partnerships between the community colleges and the four-year colleges, to make sure that the degree programs and the certificate programs that are producing students are in alignment with the jobs that are needed. About this program, Boyd said the council has functioned for a number of years, but it's time this council grows and adds to the work that it needs to do to ensure that there's complete synergy from the earliest learners in pre-K to the PhD student at a university. We're looking at restructuring the council and how that council provides information not only to policymakers, but also the different educational institutions and the workforce leaders. And then there is this. We have touched on this, but have not done a deep dive. I promise you, this is something that's on my radar and should be on your radar as we roll into 2026. Dr. Nathan Oakley is going to present to the committee today, Senior Policy Director of College and Career Pathways for Excellent Ed. And they're going to take a look at how some states are funding their schools, their colleges and their universities, using performance and outcome-based budgeting systems. Here's what Boyd said. We're looking at over 30 states in the country that have now gone to some aspect of performance-based budgeting. We have to be efficient with the dollars that the taxpayers are spending at our universities and colleges, and we no longer can fund failure. And in many instances in this state, that is what we are doing. So the legislature is looking into performance-based funding to ensure performance is being driven and ensure students receive the best benefit and therefore provide better return on investment in the workforce. The executive director of Tennessee's Higher Education Commission is going to speak to the committee as well. Dr. Al Rankins is chair of the IHL in Mississippi, commissioner of the IHL. He's going to provide an update about the status of the agency during today's meeting as well. This is a topic where the legislature and the IHL, at least in part, do not appear to be on the same page. Dr. Rankins might say that that's an unfair assessment. Would love to visit with Dr. Alfred Rankins. He has an open invitation to join us on Mornings with Richard Cross to talk about how funding is happening for the colleges and universities in the state of Mississippi. There was a performance-based funding program that was written and approved and put in place to begin in Mississippi. And I'm told that for various reasons, it actually, when I say put into place, it was almost a placeholder, but it did not go fully into effect. And so it's been kind of status quo with funding for colleges and universities. And right now, the IHL has complete say on how the money that is allocated by the legislature is distributed to colleges and universities. We got the IHL report, what was it, the beginning of November, that showed the student enrollment numbers across the state were up across the board. But over 50% of the growth comes just from Ole Miss. And when you look at overall, you're more like 80 to 90% of the growth comes from the combination of Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And so it would stand to reason that if those are the schools that are growing the most and they are producing good outcomes like graduation, student retention, excellence in the classroom, providing graduates who are ready to take on the workforce in the specific job areas that are needed in Mississippi, that they would get more money than some of the other schools. That is not the case. I had a university leader that I was talking to recently referred to the current IHL funding formula as socialism, with the idea that if things continue as they are, it's only going to get worse. Based on conversations that I've had, both Mississippi State and Ole Miss appear to be in complete alignment that some major reform needs to happen in the way the funding model works for colleges and for universities. Now, Ole Miss and Mississippi State may not agree on a lot when it comes to the courts and the fields, but in terms of the classroom, it sounds like they are marching to the beat of the exact same drummer.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Wake up, get up, and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Have mercy on me when it comes to crossing the good golly woman. That just scares the devil right out of me.
C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. Already some immediate reaction to talking just a little bit about college and university funding. Told you we're going to dive deeper into this. And there's going to be a lot of, I don't even want to listen. This is ridiculous. Some of your quick responses, college education. What an oxymoron. Waste what little money you have and get buried under a mountain of debt. Then your unaccomplished loser professors hit you with a stupid stick and turn you into Jew-hating Nazis. Okay. Russ in Rankin says, oh my, performance-based funding will be called anti-education and racist in 3, 2, 1. And then here's one more. Sure, give more to the schools whose students have more affluent parents and whose parents are more college educated. How ignorant can people be as far as the university side? Of course, we all know it will not be political, and no one could predict that you would advocate to screw USM. I missed the part where I advocated screwing the University of Southern Mississippi. Sounds to me like you were trying to hear something that I didn't say. Of course, Thomas says, why would you go to college? All the jobs are going to immigrants or offshored to India. Thomas, you say some intelligent things. That's just not one of them. all of the jobs. Come on. We looked at some of those IHL numbers from not too terribly long ago. But when you talk about performance-based funding, you're talking about retention rates of students, graduation rates of students. Here's what you had from this is the report from the 24-25 academic year. So it trails by 1 year. These are fall-to-fall retention rates across the state of Mississippi. Alcorn State, 81%. Delta State, 64%. Jackson State, 77%. Mississippi State, 81%. MUW, 73%. Mississippi Valley State, 62%. Ole Miss, 89%. Southern Miss, 70%. System-wide, across those 8 schools, the retention rate fall to fall with returning students was 81%. And then they count graduation rates on a 6-year rolling number. So these are students who were freshmen in the fall of 2015, a 6-year graduation rate. These numbers are startling. 42% at Alcorn State. Delta State, 44%. Jackson State, 38%. Mississippi State, 60%. MUW, 45%. Mississippi Valley State, 27%. Ole Miss at 68%. Southern Miss at 52%. I rounded up on all of those numbers so we wouldn't get buried in decimal points. So system-wide, the 6-year graduation rate for students who started in the fall of 2015, and again, this is a rolling average, was 57%. Just a little better than 1 out of 2 students that started across the board are actually graduating in a 6-year window. And the 2 highest numbers, Mississippi State, about 6 out of 10 students that started graduated within 6 years. And at Ole Miss, about 7 out of 10 students that started graduated in 6 years. That's a concerning number. There are lots and lots of reasons why. Some of them are financial. Some of them are interest level. Sometimes it's people that just go out and get jobs. A lot of reasons why that's the case. About 80,000 students across the IHL system in Mississippi. But where it gets really interesting is when you look at the amount of money that is allocated by the state on a per-student basis. And look, I don't have the exact numbers for those. I don't want to be unfair to the IHL. I don't, because maybe it's buried in here somewhere. But you don't see a graph or a chart that lays out exactly how much money on a per-student basis goes to each of the schools. I will tell you, despite the fact that the graduation rates are significantly higher and the retention rates are significantly higher at Mississippi State and Ole Miss, the per-student funding allocation is significantly lower than it is for students at Alcorn State, Delta State, Jackson State, the W, MVSU, and Southern Miss. I have asked for those numbers, and they're really hard to find. And so you kind of have to go on conversations and some kind of anecdotal stuff as opposed to I've got a chart that has them exactly here. I'm going to continue to dig for that. But I've been told that there can be a thousands of dollars, like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 difference in what students at those 6 schools are getting, or what's being allocated on a per student basis at those 6 schools compared to what's being allocated at Mississippi State and Ole Miss, which goes back to what I said before the break about alignment between Mississippi State and the University of Mississippi in terms of it's time to really, really take a close look at the IHL and the way they are doing business. And we need to be funding based on outcomes, graduation rates, degree programs that are available, students that are ready to enter the workforce in areas that are really needed, as opposed to propping up the 6 schools whose outcomes and performance is less. All right. C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. College is a scam. I teach at one. I promise I'm spot on. It probably depends on what you're looking to get out of college, doesn't it? Could we do that with high schools as well? Don't you have a kind of a responsibility to educate your young people as they come up? I lost it. If folks get their college paid for on state funds and they don't graduate, they should be made to pay it back. Maybe that would give them incentive to finish their degree. I mean, people are still having to pay to go to school. If the IHL funding model is socialism, their decisions to limit the highest paying professional degrees to just 2 universities is communist. Well, that's not true. You've got business degrees and engineering degrees at schools all over the state of Mississippi. It's not limited to just 2 schools. Somebody says, so it's the same formula as K through 12. And not exactly, but I suppose there are some similarities. Somebody says those 6-year numbers would include the COVID year, which might have a lot to do with the graduation rate. Yes, but again, it's a rolling rate that they use over 6 years. Josh says, what is the average tuition rate right now? Let's see here. Annual cost of education. Total cost in state. Alcorn State, 19.8. Delta State, 17.3. Jackson State, 23.6. Mississippi State, 22.9. The W, 17,000. Mississippi Valley State, 16,200. Ole Miss, 21,000. USM, right at 21,000 also. That's the total in-state tuition with other costs associated per year.
Well, people may try to guess the secret of a happy...
From the Seabrook.Mississippi.
This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
It's happening. You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Great being with you on this Wednesday morning, middle of the week, December 10th. The school semester is starting to wind down. We were talking about colleges and universities and the IHL just a few minutes ago. They are in exam week this week with kindergartners through 12th graders. Most of that will be happening all across the state of Mississippi next week. Dr. Lance Evans joins us. Good time to check in with him. He is the state superintendent of education, and we go from August to December in what feels like a blink of the eye with so much happening. I got a message from one of my kids' teachers that said they've got benchmark testing today, and I guess that's the kind of check-in point at the halfway point of the school year to see where you started and where you are, and give teachers an idea of what's got to happen still in the remainder of the school year. Good morning to you.
Morning, sir. How are you?
I'm great. So we talk all the time about testing, and some people say, all they do is test and teach to test, but benchmark testing, like I just mentioned there a second ago, you have kind of a baseline where students start this school year. How important is it to, at the midway point, get an idea for where they've come and what you still need to accomplish?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and you are right. This is that time of the year, for sure, in our elementary and middle schools, which you typically, and now those decisions on benchmarking assessment are local decisions that are made at the local district level. But, and I think it varies tremendously by district as to how often they do it. But it is very important because, you do come in and you do get that baseline within the first month or so of students coming in. And then around Christmas and then about 2 months, before the test. So, February, March, you'll see typically a third benchmark. And all they're doing is tracking, the students' academic progress and making sure that they're hitting the marks, if you will, based on where they are. Because, districts literally look at the end they drill that all the way down to the individual student because they're trying to make sure that he or she's getting what they need to be successful. And now I do think that you can over benchmark assess, right? You're in your traditional, about 3 times a year is, in my opinion, the maximum you're going to want to use in a middle school, elementary school. In your high schools, a lot of high schools are on like a block, like a 4x4. You might have been when you're in high school. You might have been on a 4x4 block or a 7-period day. Depends. Most everybody's on a 4x4 block or some form of that. You'll see about 2 a semester there. So, but that's a long answer to your question. But yes, sir, it is very important that they do that.
Lance, there's been a lot of good news to celebrate with the education system across the state of Mississippi over the last couple of years. And most recently, we got the third grade reading numbers from the 24-25 school year. 85% are passing their reading assessments at grade level in third grade. And I suppose there's some that could look at that and go, well, that means there are 15% of the kids that are not reading. And I guess there are lots of reasons for that. But that 85% number, how significant is that in your mind, considering where we were and where we are now?
Well, I think it's a very high. It's a number that shows great success, is what it does. And people, because you do make a very good point. People could say, well, there's 15% of the kids that aren't passing that test, but you also have to consider the how rigorous our assessment is versus other states and their assessments, because these assessments are not uniform across the entire United States. You set assessment standards and cut scores in your state. We actually just raised the bar for our accountability standards in the state of Mississippi with our end-of-course assessments and all of our MAP assessments we have across the state. And we were at a real pivotal point in Mississippi. And lots of states have been where we are, but they didn't make the decision to go ahead and up the ante, if you will, or increase those expectations, and it's caused them to decline. So, in our state, we've made the decision just to push forward. It's actually in statute, but in some states they haven't done that. It's been in statute and they still haven't done it. So it is very important that we continue to push forward academically and increase our expectations as we move forward. And because if we don't, we're honest, we will start going backwards if we don't do this.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I just was going to say that's an interesting thing, and I feel like it's something that people might hear and not fully take in what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So we've seen the achievement. You get to a level, everybody is celebrating the scores, and so instead of saying, great, we're going to sit here and we're going to try and ride that wave, you say, okay, now we're going to move the goalpost a little bit. We're going to make it a little bit more difficult. We're going to test a little harder and teach a little harder, and you might see scores go backward as you transition to that. But you say if you stay put with kind of the previous goal, then you see a backslide in scores?
You do. You can. What happens is states that have not increased their standards, their academic standards, as they have increased the number of districts it's really easy to see in like A through F states like ours that have that accountability rating as A through F. But those, and I don't really want to call out any states particularly, but some that are very close to us that have experienced great success over the years, what they did is they stayed stagnant. And but at the same time, other states were increasing their expectations. So because you're staying still and others are increasing, you're obviously falling backwards because others are bypassing you. Yeah. And that's one of the things we understand as the department every day is, and I push, is understand, we are being very successful. Therefore, there are people chasing us. And if we do not continue to push, we'll fall behind.
I'm curious about the school calendar. We've seen a lot of changes in a lot of districts across Mississippi and what their calendar looks like. There's some that have gone to a year-round model where it's got shorter breaks that are interspersed throughout the year. Some that have stayed with a traditional school year model. Some that have gone to, I guess, more of a hybrid model. So 180 days, isn't that the number for the school year that's required?
For students.
For students that's required by the state. What is the feedback that you've gotten from the districts that have made changes to their calendar? Why are the changes happening? And is there a model that at this point is clearly the best model? And I know that's a local level decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a good question. That's a question that hadn't been asked in a while because, we've seen this transition in many districts. And what I would tell you is I really think it's going to be specific to the district and the students and the parents in that school district, because that's a huge, it doesn't sound like it's necessarily a huge transition, but that's a huge transition, especially with the younger students, because it changes the dynamic on the amount of time and the timing, if you will, that they're in school versus out of school. And obviously you can imagine the child care pieces that are associated with that and just life happening. But what I would tell you is the people that have transitioned, for the most part, everything I hear is very positive. But you did a very good job. There is about 3 different approaches that people take. There's the traditional approach that you and I both had, right, when we were coming through. The normal school calendar that's been here since the beginning of time. Then you have those that are truly that are like in for X amount of weeks, then out for 2 to 3 weeks. Then you have those, what I have found a lot of districts have done, they've transitioned over to this more of the third piece you were describing, like a hybrid type calendar, because the goal there is, and it does have some academic impact, but what you do find, is it does allow educators to have an opportunity to have a little bit of a break in there, because I will tell you, it is a 100% grind to go into that classroom every day. You know this, right? Every day of the week. It's good for kids. It's good for parents. But it is a community decision that you have to make, for collaboratively in order for it to be supportive. Now, I haven't seen districts transition back. Those that I've seen transition over, there may have been some, but they make modifications to it, but I haven't seen anybody transition back to the traditional calendar after they transitioned over.
It does seem like once you go to a different model, there are tweaks, but not wholesale changes in terms of going backward. And
yes,
Dr. Lance Evans is the state superintendent of education. We are very close, less than a month now, until the start of a new legislative session. You know where we're going to head after the break. I think you're not going to get away without asking me asking a question about the school choice conversation. But let's hold that for after the break. Got a minute and a half until we got to take a quick time out. In terms of priorities from your standpoint, are there things that need to be happening this year with the legislature? I guess schools have been fully funded. We've seen some teacher pay raises over the last couple of years. I know everybody always wants more money, but what are your priorities or things that are on your radar going into this legislative session?
Yes, so we've actually got a meeting today internally to go through some of those, because we constantly build those priorities over the course of the year leading up to this point. But the 2 biggest ones, just right off hand, are funding for an adolescent literacy initiative. Because while we have seen a lot of success in our younger grades, we're very honest with ourselves. We find that falling off as our students getting older. Mm-hmm. So it's a 4 through 8 focus with literacy and a math initiative that will focus on grades 2 through 6. But another thing that is very important to us, and there are many things that are very important, but with this teacher shortage issue we have, we need the guardrails taken off of the retirees being able to come back and teach. And I've had a lot of support there from our lawmakers. They understand the importance of that. And also with the expansion of these initiatives, these
hold
academic
that thought,
initiatives.
Lance.
Yes,
we'll pick that up on the other side of the break. Don't want to cut you off. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center.
Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I'm a hard-working man. I wear a steel hard hat.
Back with you on Mornings, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Dr. Lance Evans, the State Superintendent of Education, is my guest. We were talking before the break about a couple of legislative priorities for the State Department of Education. One of the things that Dr. Evans mentioned was dealing with the teaching shortage, allowing retired teachers to come back and teach. So is the biggest issue there related to how that affects retired teachers' retirement accounts?
So that is a conversation. I do think that lawmakers, for example, Senator Daniel Sparks, had several conversations with him, and there are ways that they've investigated and the issues that are associated back with PERS. I see it as a win-win for PERS because if teachers obviously can draw their retirement and then come back and be employed and pay into PERS, yet they're not double dipping again out of PERS, if you will. That's a positive for PERS. They're replacing those dollars that they're actually pulling out. But right now we have legislation that allows that to happen, but it is so limited. It is so limited. Looking at the shortage areas and things of that nature, basically if we have teachers that want to continue teaching and districts want to continue employing them, we need that to happen. I mean, it's just a common sense thing, in my opinion.
So if you hit the benchmark,
we're losing.
Yeah, if you hit the benchmark where you can retire, the idea is you should be able to start drawing your retirement, but continue teaching. So you're not double dipping on retirement, but you are, in essence, double dipping in that you can get the retirement that you've earned, but you can also continue to earn a salary, and you would pay into PERS based on your new salary.
Right. Yet you would not gain anything back from what you were paying in. Okay. So that's a win. That has to be a win for PERS. In my math calculation, that's how that works. But it would be a huge bonus for our a huge plus, if you will, for our educators for public ed in Mississippi. Yes, sir. It's very, very simple in my opinion.
Sure. That does seem to make a lot of sense. Lance, you know that the biggest conversation for much of the off season, if you will, from the time that the legislature finished up this past year until going into this new year, has been about school choice or educational freedom, depending on how you want to discuss that. We know that the governor is publicly for that. We know that Speaker White has been very publicly for that. Seems to be less so in the Senate with Lieutenant Governor Hoseman. Where do you fall in this conversation of school choice, whether it's district to district or full school choice or public to private? There's so many layers to it. It's hard to do it in 3 minutes, I know. So I'll just let you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, sir. So, we already have several forms of choice in our state. We do have districts allow tuition students, back and forth, as far as those students paying for tuition. I refer to that as portability. That we have, obviously our vouchers, right? Our ESAs for students with special needs. We have, goodness gracious, and lost my train of thought there. Those are the two primary ones that we have. Right. But what I would say is the idea, so I am all about parents making a decision as to where their child is educated. 100%. I think that is 100% what needs to take place. I have two myself, and I want to make sure that I have that opportunity. And I think that if and I've said this publicly multiple times, if a student in District A wants to go to District B, and that school district is willing to accept them, currently in our state, school district A has to release them as a student. So that school district could hold that student up from leaving. I think that's completely inappropriate to do that. I think if those parents and that child think they would get a better education by going to District B, if you will, in that example, then I think that student should have the opportunity as long as District B is willing to accept them. But the thing is when you get to the point to where you start shifting, and those state dollars, they're going to follow that student. They have followed that student since the beginning of time. The districts in the northern part of the state, there's a lot of tuition students that, are in different districts. In this metro area, they look at you like, what are you talking about when you talk about tuition students? Because that's not something they do here. So that's already there. That's already in place. Those dollars already follow those students. The conversation comes in with the local dollars, which for that same example, depending on what you pay, all right, in your local tax dollars in District A versus District B, that varies tremendously. The conversation around who makes up that difference, there's all kind of ideas been kicked around out there. I could get on either side of any of those. I will tell you somewhere where I completely stand firm, 100% stand firm, is if a single dollar of public funds, if a single public tax dollar goes to a private entity, a private school, I fully believe that those students need to be held to the same level of expectation as the students in public ed program, in public ed. And you can have that conversation around, they measure their students, they use national assessments. I get it. And I'm not saying they don't do a wonderful job. 100%. But we all need to be, if we're going to receive the same dollars, we all have to be held to the same standard. And I will tell you, our assessments are very, very strong in this state. It's a,
got 10 seconds.
It's just, the dollars going to the private schools is a big deal for me.
Dr. Lance Evans, State Superintendent of Education. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, sir. You have a good day.
We're back.
You want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Maria, there was some blue and sorrow time. Just my thoughts about you.
Rolling into the 8 o'clock hour on this Wednesday morning, middle of the week, the 10th of December, 2 weeks from tomorrow, Christmas Day. Feel like that's something we need to remind each other about to make sure that we've got all of the things done that we need to get done between now and then. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances, our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Don't forget, you can be part of the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. C Spire, customer inspired. Appreciate Dr. Lance Evans joining us to finish up the 7 o'clock hour, and we stick with conversations with guests. Sam Creekmore joins us right now. State representative. He represents District 14. That's Union County. He's chair of Health and Human Services. Mr. Chairman, good morning.
Good morning, Richard. And I appreciate that public service announcement about Christmas being a few days away.
That's right. That's right. There might be some shopping that still needs to be done. You have been formally put on notice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. We got plenty to get into, some things that are very much top of mind and sitting on the top of your desk right now, but just finished up a conversation with Dr. Evans, the State Superintendent of Education, kind of wrap that up in talking a little bit about the school choice conversation. I think we all know that is going to be a large topic, maybe a topic that kind of dominates the early days of this legislative session, which is a month away. What is that debate going to look like in the House? I know that Speaker White has been adamantly for full and open school choice. We know the governor has been as well. But I'm not convinced that all of the legislators are on exactly the same page.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it'll end up coming down to the very last thing that Dr. Evans talked about at the end is the public to private money. And so I know Speaker White is really kind of pushing that universal choice where it's open for public to private, but that's a sticking point with a lot of our members.
Yeah. And just FYI, Speaker White will be on with us tomorrow morning in the 7 o'clock hour. Always look forward to those conversations with him. In a place where you are, like Union County, where there are a bunch of school districts that are there, one of the things that Superintendent Evans talked about just a moment ago is the fact that you do have portability in place as long as one district will receive a student that wants to transfer from district to district and the current district releases them. Does that happen with regularity in Union County?
In all things transparent, Dr. Evans came from Union County. He was our superintendent at New Albany City Schools before he got his new job. But we pretty much have school choice in Union County. We have two school systems, a county and a city, and they're top rated in the state. And if a child from New Albany wants to go to Myrtle, that's typically done, or vice versa, to one of the county schools. So,
gotcha.
I don't see this bill really affecting our school systems in Union County.
Sure. Well, that's the interesting thing about this is depending on where you are from, what district or area of the state you represent, that probably is going to shade how you look at this issue. Because you hear people say all politics are local. I mean, this is kind of the ultimate test of that.
Yeah, and really back home, I hear more, again, about the same thing that we talked about at the very beginning was my constituents really don't want the public money going to private. Although it happens in government, for some reason in the school systems, they don't want it going from public to private schools.
Yeah. As chair of Public Health and Human Services, there are a few things that are absolutely topical right now. We had a visit with Dr. Edney, Dr. Dan Edney, the state health officer, just a couple of days ago, and we talked with him some about the infant mortality issue. I know you and I had a visit a couple of weeks ago about that. I'm curious if in the aftermath of that hearing you've gotten much feedback, whether it's from constituents or fellow legislators about exploring that idea that we talked about with a program that would give expectant mothers a cash stipend to use as they see fit during their pregnancy term and in the months following giving birth.
I've had quite a bit, and I did hear your Dr. Edney interview the other day, and I actually met with him yesterday. And I've had a lot of feedback on that program. A lot of it positive, a lot of it saying, I can't say this out in public, but if the results are what they are, this is something we need to explore. And then I've had some, just like the money going to private schools, we don't need to be giving away. This is right. Welfare. My position is we need to look at this and explore that if it works and it saves lives, it saves money in Mississippi. And so I'm working on a bill to at least have the conversation. Let's continue going down that road. But if this is the most effective thing we can do in the state of Mississippi, then we don't need to turn a blind eye to it.
Yeah. Well, and some of the numbers that Dr. Edney threw at us, and you may have mentioned when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that are pretty staggering. The cost to the state in terms of early term, or I guess preterm pregnancies. I'm not saying that the right way. Babies that are had before a full term comes into effect.
Right. They end up in the NICU.
Right. It's in the billions of dollars versus a few millions of dollars invested into this program, even if it's a pilot program and a significant potential cost savings.
Oh, it's the return on investment is tremendous. It's staggering, the numbers. So, and today, just to continue down that exploratory thought, the senator in Michigan who authored the bill is a Republican, and I have a conference call with him this afternoon. and just to explore, how he did that in Michigan from the Republican side.
Yeah. Because regardless of where you live, it feels like that is an issue that you would not, at least on the surface, credit to a Republican for that idea.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked the more I learned about it that it actually originated in the Republican Party. So yeah. And if you look, if you're taking an impoverished area and you're putting money into it, yes, the ultimate goal is to save lives, but it also boosts that economy. I mean, that money spent in that local area and for food, for health care, and brings another life into that area.
I think the other big thing that's on your plate right now is the opioid settlement money. I know that's something that you and your colleagues have been working on a lot, and there have been hearings. And is it to the point where you are ready to make a recommendation to the legislature on how those funds should be spent?
Yes, sir. And the way that that council has made the recommendation, they sent the letter, which I'm part of the council. I'm a non-voting member. I think there were 35 total members. Senator Boyd had the bill on the Senate side that created the council. I had the bill on the House side, went to conference. But anyway, the council has made its recommendations, sent the letter to the lieutenant governor and the speaker and the governor. And so, and it's in 5 tiers, with tier 1 being the highest. There were 127 total applicants. 22 of those made it into tier 1. 33 made it into tier 2. And then there's tier 3, 4, and 5. Of that, we have $105 million in that settlement fund right now. 90 of that is to be spent on abatement. In tier 1, we can fully fund all of tier 1 and tier 2 at the recommended rates that the council. There are about 4 or 5 in each tier that the council recommended reducing the amount. With that reduced amount, we can fully fund both tiers.
Okay. Does all of this money have to be spent in 1 year?
Well, it doesn't have to all be spent in 1 year, but there'll be another round. Each year there'll be another round, and so we'll do this each year. There'll probably be some adjustments to the process, but the money will be available to these abatement places this year or next year.
Sam, let's explore that a little bit deeper on the other side of the break. I don't want to cut you off or have us get cut off in the middle of that conversation. So $105 million in the opioid settlement fund, those recommendations going to the legislature, leadership of the legislature and the governor's office. We'll talk a little bit more about what some of those potential grantees look like and what they're doing and how this might make a difference for abatement of opioid users in Mississippi. We'll do that on the other side of this timeout. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Streaming online at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Glad to have you and glad to have my guest, Representative Mr. Chairman Sam Creekmore. We're back with you right after this.
From Lubbock Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome to the show.
I woke up the next morning, a prisoner of her charm.
We do country music on Wednesday mornings. If you are new to the program, it's something that we have fun with. Lance is pretty good at spinning the records. Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert in studio. He is. Chairman Sam Creekmore is my guest. On the House of Representatives side, he is chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. So we were talking about the opioid settlement funds, about $105 million there to be allocated this year. The committee has turned its recommendations in. You said divided it into 5 tiers to the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor and I guess the Governor's office as well. So what happens next?
Well, as you know, the Mississippi legislature can do just about whatever they want to, but I think it would be silly to turn our nose up at what the council has recommended, especially with having been on the council. I know all the hard work and a lot of time that's gone into this. But the legislature does have the right to look at it and make adjustments and move things around. I'm probably going to recommend, from our standpoint, that we accept almost all of it as is. There may be a few adjustments we can make either way, but keep in mind the legislature also has an additional $14 to $15 million that they can spend on other projects, abatement or non-abatement. I would recommend that we use it on abatement. So there's some more flexibility that the legislature has than just what the council's recommending. So I would imagine we will maybe form a subcommittee in the public health, out of the public health committee, and just review the entire council, or hold a joint hearing with the Senate, and let's just talk about them, each one, and go over it, and then take it to the House floor.
All right, I may not have the numbers exact, but I think you said 122 total applicants for this money, and about 50 of those applicants fall into Tier 1 or Tier 2 funding levels within a couple.
That is correct. Yeah.
What do some of those programs that are in Tier 1 and Tier 2 look like? The applicants that are being recommended to be funded?
Great question, Richard, and really the diversity from across the state, the diversity in what these want to do, and I've kind of divided up into five major topics of what kind of each one, and with the first one being major projects. They can spend some of it on capital improvements. So there was one group of major projects. Another group was prevention and harm reduction. There are a group of 8 or 10 in that. Family and housing is a big deal. That's another group. The justice system, and that was one of the ones we had to reduce. Of course, drug courts in your area, in my area, we have incredible drug courts, but they're not all created equal across the state. They were asking for a large sum. I think $62 million was their original application, and ended up being reduced to about 12. But that's another. The justice system is another major topic of it, and then veterans and first responders. Those are kind of the five broad areas from across the applications, and you can see that's quite a diverse group, and we were very intentional on getting the entire state covered.
All right, so these settlement funds related to the opioid epidemic, money that is allocated. So is the idea with the spending of these funds to try to rid Mississippi of the opioid problem, or is it to try to help those people who have an opioid addiction to be able to get out of that addiction? What is the primary goal here?
Well, it's both. We would love to rid the state of it, although opioids are still readily available and prescribed. But obviously, we're more careful about that. And two, they're coming to the fentanyl coming into the United States illegally. Of course, that has drastically slowed down with the border security now. But one is try to make a lot of these families whole and that have been tragically affected by opioids, and the other is to get rid of them. But a lot of that falls under the non-abatement when you're looking at how law enforcement can deal with it. So some of that money that we're looking at, and this council did suggest some non-abatement applications that did not qualify for this for the legislature to consider. So a lot of that for the law enforcement could be funded through that other $14 million that the legislature has. And again, each year this application process will be done, and so you have more than one bite at the apple. And one other thing, Richard, that we need to keep in mind: 15% of this, so another additional $14 million, has gone to cities and counties. So, for instance, Lafayette County has opioid money that these applicants who didn't make it in Tier 3 or 4 or 5 can go to their supervisors or go to their aldermen and make a case for some of that money that cities and counties have.
You said something a second ago that caught my attention. You said some of this money can be used to make families whole. Does that mean some sort of a cash payment to families who have lost loved ones to opioid
just
addiction?
Treatment.
Okay.
The mental health part of it, and so that's what it would be, just to help them overcome the tragic tragedy of losing a loved one and having to go through that.
Okay. Gotcha. It's interesting to me, and not that it's the exact same conversation, but a couple of times this week we've had a conversation about the Gulf Coast Restoration Funds and the council there that has put together recommendations, and those recommendations go to the legislature, and the legislature ultimately decides how to spend the money. In that case, we have had a letter from MDA and from Bill Cork's office that have said, yeah, we understand that this is what the council is recommending, but we think the money should be spent in this way. And we know that the MDA works at the will and pleasure of the governor's office. Are you concerned at all about something like this or something like that in terms of the disbursement of these funds, that there's a council that has worked hard to put together a list of recommendations for the legislature? Is there some entity that has the ability to come in and go, yeah, but we don't think that's exactly how this should be spent. It should be done this way? Or is that an apples and oranges comparison?
No, I don't think it's apples and oranges. I'm not just overly worried about it because the council is represented by the governor's office, by the Department of Health, by the Department of Mental Health. And so they all had their chance, and not everybody walked away. Most people we're very proud of the work, but not everybody got what they wanted, and nobody got entirely what they wanted. And so I think that's a good sign that this is a well-diverse piece of information that we're recommending to the legislature to do. Having said that, there are always people that are wanting to go the end around and find a way to get more money.
Yeah. As we wrap things up with Chairman Creekmore, I'm curious. There are some things that we talk about each year going into a legislative session where it's like, okay, we know that this year's school choice is going to be a conversation. We know that we've got opioid settlement funds that have got to be handled, and Gulf Coast restoration funds, and maybe PERS is going to be addressed again, and some questions about that. But it feels like there's always something that bubbles up and becomes a topic during the legislative session that we, and when I say we, I guess I'm talking about kind of the media, the people that cover this, are not top of mind on going into the session. You got any prediction as to what that might be, or those things might be this year? Are there things that legislators are talking about behind closed doors that is not getting as much public oxygen?
Well, that's always hard to predict. Some of the things that I think are going to be easy and non-controversial end up blowing up in my face. But for me, in the public health, and we've discussed it as the health information exchange. I want to make that, it already is statewide, but I want to make that where it's uniform throughout our state, which will only help in opioid abatement and all health care. You and Dr. Edney talked about infant mortality, and then kind of briefly touched on nutrition and how our citizens are so unhealthy, and even going into a pregnancy, that's a big part of the problem.
Right.
I've got a nutrition bill that I'm working on. Dr. Edney's been great with it, and that will be an education, continuing education for our physicians, where they are taught nutrition, a nutrition council created, and then helping our food banks, because there's a possibility in the Rural Health Transformational Fund that the federal government's doing, that our food banks can get some of that money. As you know, they've been stripped away of some money.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very important for me going forward. I don't know if it's going to catch a lot of attention with the rest of the legislature. So that there's a good bit of stuff like that. But that Rural Health Transformational Fund, when we see what that looks like and who controls those purse strings, which the legislature really, in the way I see it, is going to be in control of that could catch a lot of attention from the media and legislators.
All right. And then, of course, the ballot initiative conversation could get a little spicy as well.
And do we dare bring it up? Medicaid expansion? I didn't say it.
Sam Creekmore, Chairman of Health and Human Services. If I don't talk to you again before then, Merry Christmas. Thanks as always for your time, and we'll visit soon.
Always enjoy it, Richard. Thank you.
From the Seabrook.
Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
On the 11th day of Christmas, my sweetheart gave to me 11 wrestling t-shirts, 10 rounds of ammo, 9 bags of Red Man, 8 Elvis records, 7 gravy biscuits, 6 Levi breeches, 5 banjo strings, 4 Mac wheels, 3 coon dogs, 2 cowboy hats, and a ticket to a NASCAR race on the 12th day.
All right, mornings of Richard Cross, a little less than half an hour remaining with you. Let's open it up. C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. What is on your mind this morning? Gave you a public service announcement earlier that Christmas is 2 weeks from tomorrow, just in case you need to mark that on your calendar. Here's another one, and it has to do with tickets for the Ole Miss playoff game against Tulane on Saturday, December 20th. Season ticket holders have until, I think it's 5 o'clock this Friday, to claim their season tickets. You have to do that through your account with the Ole Miss Ticket Office, the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. You go in, you select your tickets, and you put your credit card information and get that done. At 8 o'clock on this Friday night, December the 12th, student tickets will go on sale. Student tickets, by the way, students catching a huge deal here. The face value of tickets for all of the seats in the stadium that are not student tickets start at $250 a piece. Student tickets, $25. It's a pretty big deal right there, Lance.
Yeah, the average ticket price, that's up there, but I'd take that deal. I need to find my student ID.
Yeah. 13,000 student tickets are available for that game. Student tickets will be sold on a first-come, first-served basis and will continue until the allotment is gone. Just because you had student tickets during the regular season does not give you priority access to tickets, and you are not guaranteed the ability to purchase tickets from the student allotment just because you had student season tickets. If you are an Ole Miss student, this coming Friday at 8 o'clock, that's when the window opens. You will receive an email on the evening of Friday, December 12th, with a link to access the opportunity to purchase your tickets. Student tickets are non-transferable. One of our babysitters who lives in a different part of the state, a couple of weeks ago, she was talking about, that's my last football game. I'm so sad. I was like, well, it might not be your last game. And I don't think she connected the dots exactly. And she was at the house yesterday. I was like, so are you coming back for the playoff game? She's like, yes, everybody's coming back. So should be fun. Should be a lot of fun. Let's see. I have not looked for this. So I'm curious what the secondary ticket market is showing for Ole Miss Tulane. Here you go. Get in the door price for Alabama, Oklahoma in Norman on Friday, December 19th, $250. Get in the door price for Saturday night's game, James Madison and Oregon, $172. Get in the door price for Miami, Texas A&M, $374. Get in the door price for Tulane Ole Miss is $325. So in terms of stadium size out of those four venues, Oregon is the smallest, about 55,000 seats. Then you got Ole Miss at 68,000, which is actually bigger than capacity, but that's what the expected attendance is supposed to be. Then you've got Oklahoma at a little over 80,000. and then you've got Texas A&M at a little over 100,000. So Texas A&M, the most expensive ticket, hosting Miami, followed by Ole Miss Tulane, followed by Alabama Oklahoma. It's surprising to me that Alabama Oklahoma ticket is so much less. And then you've got James Madison and Oregon. So I was just looking through the ticket prices as you advance through the playoffs. You go from the home games in the first round to the quarterfinal games that are at the Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl, and Rose Bowl. They get a little more expensive. You get to the semifinal games in Phoenix and Atlanta that are more expensive. The get-in-the-door price, I'm talking about for sitting up top at the national championship game, $900. And then it goes up from there. That's a lot of money. C-Spire text line 601-879-4395. Somebody says, save the money for the next game. Ridiculous. $250. People have money to burn. There's no doubt that it's expensive. I'm not real big, though, on, telling people what to do with their money. If you want to pay for the tickets because you think it's an experience that you've never had before in your life and you don't know when it'll be replicated, maybe you invest in it. Maybe you have to choose. I was talking to somebody yesterday, said, hey, had a conversation with my wife, said, hey, we can either we can do the playoff game in Oxford or we can hope that they win and we can do the Sugar Bowl. Can't do both. And there are a lot of people who got to pick. Somebody said, interesting that the smallest stadium also has the cheapest ticket. That's from Dave. Yeah, Dave, I think it has to do with the matchup. Right? I mean, Oregon hosting James Madison. And it's just so much excitement surrounding this Ole Miss team. It's also the second time that Oregon has been in the playoff. Derek in Greenwood says $400 for South End Zone tickets. Yeah, like I said, those were get-in-the-door prices. That could be a single ticket that's in the corner top of the stadium. It just happens to be the cheapest ticket that's available. Most of the tickets that you'll find on the secondary market are a lot more. Somebody thinks they got me. I like that, Richard. Let's not tell people what to do with their money. Cough, cough, school choice. Yeah. On those ticket prices and just the legitimate expense of it all, when Ole Miss sent out the application to season ticket holders to get their season tickets for the playoff game, it also gave them the option of getting in line, I guess would be the right way to say it, for Ole Miss's allotment for future games within the playoff structure. And so, it gives you the scenario all the way through to the national championship. And if you just say, hey, I want to put my credit card on file, and if Ole Miss makes it to the Sugar Bowl, I want to be in line to buy tickets. And if they win that game and they make it to the Fiesta Bowl, I want to be in line to buy those tickets. And same thing for the national championship game. I got a friend that did that. He's got 4 season tickets. Not premium seating, 4 season tickets. And so he applied for his 4 season tickets, Lance, all the way through the national championship game. Did I tell you this earlier this week? And I've forgotten about it.
I don't.
The total, if all of those things happened, $12,651.
Yeah, per person?
No, for his 4 tickets.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought you were saying.
Yeah, that's what it would cost him to buy tickets all the way through for a family of 4. And that is before you have even thought about buying a tub of popcorn, a Coca-Cola or a cold beer, a hot dog, bought a nickel's worth of gas or a plane ticket, rental car, Ubers, transportation, meals out, hotels. I mean, if a family of 4 rode just in the crazy scenario that Ole Miss were to go all the way to the national championship game, and you can laugh at that if you want to, that's fine. I'm just saying, if it were to happen that way, a family of 4 that goes on the entire ride, right? Let's just and we're assuming that they can buy tickets at face value. And does Oxford, and then does New Orleans, and does Phoenix / Tempe, and then goes to Miami. You're talking $40,000 to $50,000. It's insane. And there are so many people that will go, you know what, I'm just going to figure it out. There's some people that are going to have to say, I just can't do it. Or I got to pick and choose. I'm going to skip the game in Oxford because I want to go to New Orleans. I can't do Phoenix, but by golly, if Ole Miss football is playing for a national championship and I have to sell a kidney or a prosthetic, remember that story? Then I'm going to be in Miami. Somebody on here says, I'm proud of the people that can do that, but 99% of the people will be watching from home and restaurants. Maybe right. I mean, it's an investment, and I guess you invest in what matters to you and what you can do, and there are times where you just have to go, I just can't do it. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Back with you to wrap it up next.
From the Venable Glass Trap.
The White House to your hometown. This is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Mama's gonna wash all away. She thinks mercy's overrated.
All right, got an update on a story that has been lacking on details, and also one of the most annoying things that exists in our life might not be going away, but could it be getting just a little bit better? Before we get to those, I want to remind you about my friends at David Fisher Land Company. If you've got the dream of owning land, maybe a big place where you make the hunting rules, maybe it's a smaller tract where you want to build your dream home or just a cabin for a weekend getaway, maybe you recognize that land is simply a great investment. They're not making any more. David Fisher Land Company is the place for you. David Fisher Land Company, based in Inverness in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, servicing all of Mississippi, all of Arkansas, and all of Louisiana. David Fisher Land Company has 40 years of experience in farm and recreational land brokerage, land appraisals, farmland management, whether you're looking for 100 acres or several thousand, or maybe an equity share in a hunting club, David Fisher Land Company is ready to earn your business. They also, with customers across the Southeast, can help you sell the property that you need or want to sell. The website is easy, davidfisherland.com. davidfisherland.com. Reach out to David, Jack, or Travis. They'd love to help you with your land needs. If you don't mind, tell them you heard about them on SuperTalk Mississippi. It's davidfisherland.com. David Fisher Land Company, davidfisherland.com. The Jackson Police Department, by the way, Lance, thank you for sending me this update. I had missed the update to this story from the SuperTalk Mississippi news team, has released the name of a man that they believe was killed while trying to steal copper from a utility pole. 34-year-old Russell Houston was identified as the deceased on Wednesday morning. Died back on December 5th, 300 block of Green Hill Drive. Officers were called to the area around 4:30 in the afternoon for what was initially reported as an elderly woman who had walked into a power line. Cops got there. They discovered a situation that was just a little bit different. According to JPD, the victim was a man wearing women's clothing. Evidence suggests that he had attempted to climb a utility pole to steal copper wiring. The pole broke, causing him to fall and be electrocuted, pronounced dead at the scene. Didn't initially know who he was, but he was wearing an ankle monitor, and so they were able to use that to confirm his identity. The investigation into the death and what led up to it is ongoing. There are a lot of ways to make a honest or dishonest buck without trying to strip copper out of an active electrical wire up a telephone pole. Although, in terms of if we're grading the intelligence level here overall, perhaps a sandwich or two short of a picnic anyway. For decades, robocalls have plagued Mississippians. A nationwide effort has been underway to crack down on these annoying cold calls. How many do you get a day? Lance, how many do you get a day?
I used to get some, but I started answering them and, messing with them, so they started leaving me alone.
They make me irrationally angry. Sometimes I hit ignore. Sometimes I'm like, is that a number I need to answer? And so I answer it. And then there's like this long pause and I hang up. Sometimes I wait for them to connect and I just scream at people on the other end of the line. Attorney General Lynn Fitch announced this week that the second phase of the national Operation Robocall Roundup is now underway. Her office working in conjunction with 50 other attorneys general to protect people's privacy. The Attorney General Lynn Fitch said, robocalls are not only annoying and disruptive to our everyday lives, but they are often used to perpetrate scams. I'm proud to join my colleagues as we protect not only Mississippians, but all Americans free from these unsolicited calls and hold the companies that facilitate them accountable. It's maddening. No, I don't want a loan consolidation. No, I don't want to refinance my furniture. No, I don't have a house that I want to sell. No, I don't want to buy an extended warranty for my automobile. No, I don't want to inherit the money from a Nigerian prince. Leave me alone. Although if I did inherit a bunch of money from a Nigerian prince, I probably would go to Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota on Highway 6 West in Oxford. Even without inheriting money from a Nigerian prince, I would go there. I have, and I will again, and you might want to as well. If you're in the market for a new or previously owned vehicle, Belk Ford, Oxford Toyota, great selection on the lot right now. Not good, great. 25s and 26s, F-150s, Explorers, Expeditions, maybe a Mustang out there right now. Got some Broncos, great selection, great people to deal with as well. BelkFord.net, OxfordToyota.com. Anywhere in the state of Mississippi or beyond that you live, it just might be worth the trip. Certainly would be worth the call. Check them out, Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota. Thanks for being with us. For Lance, I'm Ricardo. Mornings with Richard Cross. Have a great day.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.